معناه أن يقصد المرء بعبادته التقرب إلى الله سبحانه وتعالى والتوصل إلى دار كرامته. So sincerity to Allah, the Exalted, its meaning is that a man, by way of his worship, through his worship, he intends nearness to Allah. He intends closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he wants to reach the abode of his, bounty and honor. So this is another way to explain what is sincerity. It is that you do the deed to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is to reach the abode of heaven, of Jannah. So the Shaykh then goes on to explain to us a number of possible categories of people as it relates to the issue of sincerity and the reasons and motives behind people's actions. So he says, وَإِذَا أَرَادَ الْعَبْدُ بِعِبَادَتِهِ شَيْئًا آخَرَ فَفِيهِ تَفْصِيل حَسَبَ الْأَقْسَامِ التَّالِيَةِ. Right, so what we've described here, this is the definition of sincerity. What is a person seeking? It's the face of Allah. It's to seek to become closer to Allah. It's to enter his paradise, to reach, his paradise. So this is the person who is sincere. There's no other motive. There's nothing other reason. But as for those who want something else, then those types of people, they will fall into three categories. There are three categories. So he says, القسم الأول, the first type is أن يريد التقرب إلى غير الله تعالى في هذه العبادة ونيل الثناء عليها من المخلوقين. Right, so the first category is the one who simply, he wants to become closer to other than Allah. So he's not seeking to become closer to Allah. He just wants to gain nearness and closeness to other people, to an individual, to a group of people. And he wants to acquire their praise, the praise of the creatures, of the creation. This type of person, as you can see from the outset, his intention is not to become near to Allah, to see the face of Allah. This فَهَذَا يُحْبِطُ الْعَمَلِ. This invalidates the action. This action now is futile. وَهُوَ مِنَ الشِّرْكِ. It is from shirk. وَفِي الصَّحِيحِ, in the Sahih al-Bukhari, min hadith Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu. So from the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, قال الله تعالى, Allah the Exalted said, which is a hadith Qudsi, he said, أنا أغنى الشركاء عن الشرك من عمل عملا أشرك فيه معي غيري تركته وشركه. So he says that of all of the partners, of all of those who are made partners, I am the most unneedy. I am the most unneedy of having partners. And so whoever does an action in which he makes me a partner with someone else besides me, then I will abandon him and his shirk. I will abandon him and his shirk. So here, this is regarding a person who from the outset, his intention is not to please Allah and see the face of Allah and to reach his paradise. He's just seeking to please the people, to win the praise of the people, and so on. That's the first person. The second person, the Shaykh says, وَالْقِسْمُ الثَّانِي أن يقصد بهذا الوصول إلى غرض دنيوي كالرئاسة والجاه والمال دون التقرب بها إلى الله تعالى. Second person is that he desires to reach some worldly objectives. Some worldly objectives. What are worldly objectives? There is leadership, for example. There is honor and standing, to have respect and honor with the people. There's also wealth, right? So these are some of the reasons that a person may engage in acts of worship, because they are a means for him to gain these things. So and the person does not intend nearness to Allah. So again, فَهَذَا عَمَلُهُ حَابِطٌ, this person's action is vain, it is futile. لَا يُقَرِّبُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى, this will not bring him closer to Allah. لِقَوْلِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى, because Allah the Exalted said in some ayat in Surah Hud, the 11th chapter, verse 15 and 16, مَنْ كَانَ يُرِيدُ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا وَزِينَتَهَا نُوَفِّ إِلَيْهِمْ أَعْمَالَهُمْ فِيهَا وَهُمْ فِيهَا لَا يُبْخَسُونَ. Whoever seeks the life of the world and its glitter, we shall pay them in full for their deeds therein, and they will not be wronged in anything. أولئك الذين ليس لهم في الآخرة إلا النار وحبط ما صنعوا فيها وباطل ما كانوا يعملون. For such people, they will have no share in the hereafter except the hellfire, and what they did therein will become vain, futile, and it will be false what they used to do. So this person now, the Shaykh goes on to explain, in fact, وَالْفَرْقَ بَيْنَ هَذَا وَالَّذِي قَبْلَهُ, what's the difference between this one and the first one? The first one, the Shaykh says, أن الأول قصد أن يثنى عليه من قبل أن أنه عابد لله. The first one, he just simply wants to be praised by the people, right? Because he wants the people to see, I am a worshipper of Allah, I'm a slave of Allah, I do these deeds of worship. So he just simply wants the praise of the people. Whereas the second one, he is not looking for praise. He's not wanting for it to be said, what a worshipper, what a reciter, what a generous man giving charity. He's not after that. He is, his motive, and he's not concerned with people actually praising him. He's just after some worldly benefit. He wants to acquire some worldly benefit. That's his reason. Now the third category, third type of person who, whose intention is other than Allah, he says, أن يقصد بها التقرب إلى الله تعالى والغرض الدنيوي الحاصل بها. So here, this person now is trying to combine between two things. This person he wants to become close to Allah, he's seeking nearness to Allah, but there's also a worldly benefit, there's also a worldly consideration in his worship, right? So for example, he says that perhaps by way of bit tahara, like for example, when he purifies himself, he also thinks to himself that, okay, this is a way for me to invigorate my body and to have purity of body. So when I do wudu, for example, when I do ghusl, for example, when this is just simply a means of purification and just invigorating the body and to keep it clean, like in a worldly sense. So he sees that benefit, and that now becomes a motive and a reason, alongside the fact that he's doing it obviously because it's ibadah, and he also wants to please Allah, but he has this other consideration. Or for example, وَبِالصَّلَاةِ تَمْرِينَ الْجِسْمِ وَتَحْرِيكَهُ. So for example, behind the prayer, he wants to worship Allah obviously, but then he also, the consideration is, he thinks, well, the prayer is a type of physical exercise. I want to discipline my body. The various motions and movements will be healthy for my body, and so on and so forth, right? So he sees some worldly element, and that also motivates him to pray. It's a consideration that he has. And likewise also, وَبِالصِّيَامِ تَخْفِيفَ الْجِسْمِ وَإِزَالَةَ فَضَلَاتِهِ. By fasting, a person might want to lighten the body, get rid of the excess that's in the body, and expel the excess fluids or things which the body expels. So in other words, again, it's like a health reason, and so he has that in mind, as well as wanting to worship Allah. And wabil hajj, likewise with hajj, a person goes to hajj because he wants to see things and experience all the things that a person on Hajj does. So all of this, the Shaykh says, what does this do? Remember, this person is unlike the second one, unlike the first one. Right? The first one is after praise. The second one is after some worldly benefit. And this third one is combining some personal interests alongside his worship. Right? So the Shaykh says, وَهَذَا يُنْقِصُ أَجْرَ الْإِخْلَاصِ. Right? So this person here, what will happen to him? It's that his sincerity is compromised, and it will diminish and decrease the reward of sincerity. That's what will happen to this person. Right? The first two people, their action is vain and futile altogether. This person, when he brings these other considerations, then his sincerity is compromised, it is deficient. However, the Shaykh then goes on to give some tafsil. He says, now it varies and it depends, because each person might not necessarily have the same level of deficiency in this respect. So he says, ولكن إذا كان الأغلب عليه نية التعبد فقد فاته كمال الأجر. He says, if this person, if overwhelmingly his intention is worship, overwhelmingly, right, that's the majority reason, and the other thing is just like a small thing, then he will get the reward. He will get the reward, but not the complete reward, and he may not be harmed by this. So he's not necessarily sinful. Right? Overwhelmingly, he wants to worship Allah and get the reward.